Alright, in this brief video we're going to go over how to complete or fill in the Martus budget import sheet. And this is if you're going to import your budget into Martus for FY21. This doesn't work with budget mods, just the new budget proposals. So we can see the sheet I have now has the columns. This is the sheet I downloaded from the website. And we can see different columns looking for program ID, funding source ID, checkbook ID, account ID, the date or the month that we want the budget to show, the total of our budget, which is the same, but both columns are needed, and a note 1 column to match the first month of our fiscal year. This will allow us to make any notes for any lines that we feel is necessary. And so for this test program, the test ID is actually test. Some programs might be 123, 112, 107, stuff like that. The program ID is looking for the number of your program. The funding source ID, if you're a general fund, it's usually 50 point something, and then either your program name or the fund type name. If you're a health program, it might be 514 point something. That's what that's going to be. Your checkbook ID is your actual checkbook number. The account ID is just the account number, not the names. So in this example, I'm using the account number for tribal employees. I only have the numbers showing. And in these first 4 columns, all of them are using a general category for formatting. So if I go to format cells, they're all selected on general, just meaning it's nothing specific. That's not a number, it's not a letter, it can be combinations of those things. So I just have it on general, and that's what you're going to need to leave it on for these 4 columns to work and for that last column to work. These 2 columns are in as numbers without the comma separating the 1,000 values. So we have here, if you're not sure on any of these 3 things as you're doing your budget, a nice quick way to check that is you could go into Intact, just like we're going to do a transaction here. And so if I type in the program I'm looking for, I can see it says test and then test company. And so if we just do the list, so I can see a list of everyone, we can see admin attorney is 100, and then the company name is admin attorney. Program 101, program name adult corrections, 102 alcohol treatment program, and so on. So if I was one of these 3 programs and I'm working on this Excel spreadsheet, in this column I'm putting 100 or 101 or 102, not the name of my program, but the actual number, which is known as the ID in our systems. So we've got my test company. And usually once we get in our program, the system will start to eliminate other things that don't match with our programs. Now, if I click on funding source, the only things that are going to show are the funding sources assigned to this program. Easy for me, since it's just one on the test company. And what it's looking for is what's called the funding source ID. Hard to tell for an average person, but in the name of this, the naming protocol, there's 2 hyphens here that's separating the funding source ID from the funding source name. So the ID is the first part. Just like in program, test is the ID. In this one, that means funding source ID is this first part only, no other information, just test for training. And then the checkbook, there's a checkbook ID, there's the 2 hyphens, and then there's the checkbook name. So it's only looking for number 35. And so that's what I have here. The account numbers are going to be up to you. If you're using a funding source that's been budgeted before, it's likely you already have the account numbers. If you've worked on a separate spreadsheet to prepare this, maybe you already have the account numbers from the Intact's chart of accounts. But what you're going to want to put there is just the account number. If I go back into Intact, this is going to work with the stuff that we have ready to purchase from that has a budget. And so we can see a list of these things. There's the number, there's the dash dash, and then the name. So it's wanting the ID or the number. So that's what we're going to budget. And then I have the actual amount here and here. And these two need to be the same. So usually you want to type that here and then copy it again just right over here. So that's the same, and then if you have a note, make a note. When you're done, save it with a name and on your desktop in an area you can find it at. And so I've saved it as Martus Budget Import Sheet Test Version 1. So with this information saved, I'm finished. Maybe my budget's just this one line. Now we can go into Martus. So when I switch screens here, we're in Martus. And I have no 2020 information, so there is nothing for me to show. This is a brand new funding source that doesn't have a budget. So we can see the 2021 budget with no information. In prior trainings, we've gone over how to add those new account numbers, either using the fields here or loading and initializing if we're repeating a budget. But in this one, we're going to import our sheet. So we're going to click on Choose File. Find the version of the sheet that you've created, click Open, and then click Import Budget Data. When that sheet uploads, the lines that you have will be there under the month that we're using. We can see this little calculator button is blue saying I have a note, so if I click on that, there's the note I had on the spreadsheet. I can still make changes to it if I need to. Or if I'm happy here, I can click Save, and I'm finished with this part. And then I can come down to the bottom here and upload the supporting documents that would be needed to include with our budget proposals. Now, if we've done this budget, either the program director has taken a look or some time has passed and we realized we forgot a line or there's some information we didn't include, you can always go back to your original import sheet. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these things and say we're going to add 2 new lines. And we'll do office supplies. Forgot to budget my office supplies at $200. And our utility bill. And if we realize that the employee field was less, we're using last year's numbers, and since then things have changed. Our staff may have gotten a raise after their probationary period is over, that kind of thing. You can make a change here, so we'll change it from $123.45 to $150. I'm going to save it. And so now when we go back into Martus, I'm going to upload the exact same sheet that we saved with the new information. And now that line has changed from 123 to 150, and there's the 2 new lines I've added. And now I can save that, and we are done. Update our files to include the documents that support the new budget proposal now, and we're good to go. All right, if you have any questions, you can rewatch the video. There's a slide deck on the website to read through, or you're welcome to send me an email. Thanks.